Let's start. So, dear colleagues, we have only 1 hour, so let's try to touch upon in a maximum comfortable way the major topics. My name is Maria Podlesnova. I'm head of Rosbase. I will introduce our speakers a bit later, but let us start the filling of the topic we're going to discuss. And today we're going to discuss love. And that is why probably I was invited to moderate this session, because I'm really in love with Moscow, with our technology, with everything. Before that, I loved Moscow more emotionally, like a lady. Today, I love Moscow, and I have arguments for that. Not long ago, there was a meeting with some European representative, and there was a colleague from Europe, and he was so amazed when he saw me paying the parking. He was really amazed, and now we are used to that. We just feel how dangerous and how dreadful it is to go to some special slots, to have bills, to enter some coins or banknotes there. But we have got used to digital comfort. My smartphone is also part of this digital comfort. When I go around Moscow, I can pay fines. I can see my kid having eaten something wrong in the cafe. Ministry of Emergency sends a message through my mobile phone too if I need to take away my car from some dangerous place. So my city is digital, and it has been like this for quite recent time. And let me introduce the team which managed to create this kind of digital Moscow in 8 years. Let me give the floor to Evgeny Kozlov, Evgeny, deputy of Anastasia Rakova. Evgeny, the floor is yours. Good afternoon. Unfortunately, Anastasia will not be able to speak here due to some health problems, and she asked me to share with you what we love, what we do, and what we have passion for. Maria gives me 15 minutes and I'll try to be even faster for interactions. So Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin, during the plenary, has probably used for the first time some emotional words, love, being sincere, and friendship. Does it have something to do with city management? Let me explain why it is really like this. In the year 2011, Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin set a target to make Moscow comfortable for everyone. To do that, he needed to stop being a classical authority representative, but to be part of the service for business, for citizens, for other actors. How did we start? Everything changed when the paradigm changed, or when we stopped to be the service institution. What do? We borrow some rooms, we borrow something else, and then we ask us to assess if we liked it or not. But the mere principles of city management is revenue. But this is more about business. City management does not only include revenues, does not only include digital services. does not only include transport or education. Everything is important. There can be no city without transport, without education. But this is not everything. Not everything can be described using the word satisfaction. We are people, so what we feel is love, or emotions, or passion, or on the other hand, we can hate the city, we can feel estrangement. And that is why the target of the city mayor is not just the students go to the university or go to school, but that they like their schools or universities. When you go to some parks, you need to love them. So what is love of the city for citizens? And vice versa. We're different, and we feel it differently. I am not a Muscovite, and Maria is not a Muscovite either. But my development as a personality started here in Moscow, and I love Moscow. I see how it develops, and I'm so proud that I'm part of the team which develops the city. But the Muscovites who love the city want the city to love them. What is important here? And number one, as the sea, it is infrastructure. And this is comfortable environment. We see around clean cities, great parks, and we know there are a lot of services and platforms, including transport, education, and many other things. But smile of citizens has never been a priority. Services have been here always. But when you do something, you need to smile. There is a competition between cities, and sometimes it is even more than between countries. So, for instance, if we have a FIFA player here, he gets a salary, and we double our revenue, so we need to attract people here. It is especially important that not just the manager is the person who decides everything, but the Moscow citizen is always right. So being human-centered is our policy. But, you know, if we just move, if we don't keep the pace, will be too long. So we can develop, we can move forward only if we implement new technologies. Without it, neither transport, nor environment, nor housing will be comfortable enough. So, being human-centered, we try to manage our city. So what are our principles then? We need to be friendly, we need to be sincere, we need to have feedback and take it into consideration and develop more. For example, we have our mobile devices, computers, laptops, etc., tablets. Why did we select this very producer? Because of the design. And during the plenary today, many speakers said that design is number one here, not only technology. So the interface needs to be comfortable. And all the services of Moscow need to be comfortable. This is now being implemented in different digital services, and we're going to develop it for medicine, for culture, and to other areas. There are loads of services around us. Some of them are part of infrastructure, some of them are basics of infrastructure. Let me not stop at each of them accurately. The slide represents that the services we have in this city are in demand. Have you heard about the website mosservices.ru? Is there anyone who never used this service? Only you, one person. Sorry. This is not your fault. This is our fault, because probably we've been not too comfortable for you. We realize that if we are not in line with you, if we cannot have a digital service for passport, for housing, the service will be useless. So we try to make the services for everything which is part of everyday life of each person living in Moscow. About 6 or 7 years ago, outpatients clinics of Moscow didn't have any digital services. So in the digital world, it could look like a desert. So what did we do? We started with cables, then the hardware. After that, what is necessary? Certainly software. And this software should be the same for the users and for the actors. And if we complete digitalization, then we have great effect. Several years ago, if a waiting list to some specialist, a doctor, could be 8 days or even several weeks. After that, people needed to go to outpatients clinic and needed to wait once again because there were lines. And, you know, it wasn't comfortable for me. Now the situation has changed dramatically.
My kid is 9 years old. He knows to use mobile phones better than me. We live in a digital environment, and the school which teaches our children to live in the future, so they use a methodology from the past century. And well, the school cannot produce or educate people which will have all required competencies for working in the 21st century. And it is absolutely logic. But what's the consequence? The school should not be autonomous or retrogradic. And our mayor mentioned it in his speech. So the education system changed from inside. Moscow Electronic School is a major educational program, and it's transforming the education in Moscow into a digital environment, which will allow us to teach our children to be able to live in the 21st century. So first results were already shared today, but I think that in a couple of years' time we'll have even more changes. It's not possible to live in historical vacuum. So if you only develop based on feedback, you can lose connection to the reality. It's impossible to live without the reality. So the feedback that can be is our personalized communication in terms of claim or reports at mos.ru website. This is some direct action. But there are other possibilities on how we can learn wishes and comments. And we are trying to collect feedback. The government of Moscow is closely monitoring social media. So when the discussion starts, before it became a real request or claim, we try to analyze and take actions before we get the request. Yes, we are closely monitoring the media space. We use data from our cellular phone operators. So Magistral project is a big project based on analysis of big data. So feedback cannot be only in form of electronic requests, but also opinion or an action by a human person. Yes, so I would like to say I have 1 minute 44 seconds left. So our mayor already mentioned about services, and our future is bright because technologies being introduced in the city will allow us to create a safe based on all privacy requirements, nice services. At the moment, we are developing the machine eyesight system, which allows to find malicious tumors by 80%. And very shortly, healthcare professionals will get this idea. It's all possible. It's all possible in the education. Big data, blockchain, artificial intelligence. We can discuss these topics endlessly. Recently, there was a polling of Muscovites, what they would like to get from the digitalization. And you see results here. More than 5,000 respondents answered the questions. And when we spoke to our colleagues from consultancies, and Helena will comment on that in a detail. So quite often we can anticipate the expectation for the services which are not in demand today, but which will get a huge growth of audience in 2 years' time. Yeah, so this is our dream. We are not Gazprom, where dreams come true, and Gazprom, as a taxpayer, moved to St. Petersburg. But we will make our dream come through. Thank you. Thank you, Evgeny. Okay, we'll definitely have a question and answer session if we have at least some minutes left. And I'd like to invite Elena Kuznetsova, a partner at McKinsey, who will tell us about some unique research and give us figures. I think they will be voiced here for the first time. Hello, dear colleagues. When lately we talk about solutions for smart cities, quite often we fail to understand what it is, what it is all about. There are a lot of smart city solutions which help us, which make our life comfortable, but we often ignore them. For instance, traffic lights and automatic traffic control. We use them, but a regular person, a common person, doesn't see it. And the research on how smart city solutions are spread in different countries, so they are all focused on technology. And for us, it was exciting to have a look at if people, if the users, the consumers really demand them. And we had a big research for covering 50 cities in the world, people who had access to internet, for those who know about internet, or who use web applications or log on via a mobile phone. We try to understand how people really use the smart city technology. So the first conclusion was that smart technologies are already in place for the most of residents of big cities all over the world. So here at the left, you see the regular use of smart technologies which are visible to a regular person, we see that in countries as different as Shanghai, Barcelona, Singapore, and Mexico, 1/3 of residents use smart solutions on average, on all solutions. But normally, in every city, there are 1 or 2 or 3 solutions which enjoy most demand, where the use exceeds 70%. It means that the smart solutions have already become part of our everyday life for every person in the city. What else was interesting? So this is a rapidly changing area where you quite often have some new exciting solutions that pop up, and you don't have any leader. You see that among leader cities, we have cities from different countries. For specific solutions, yes, so for some solutions, Chinese cities would be the leader. For some solutions, Moscow would be the leader. For some solutions, São Paulo or Mexico City are the leaders. Well, maybe we would not think of them as smart cities. And among the leader cities where we, as residents, actively use smart solutions, we have a lot of cities from developing markets. So the benchmark for, we had only New York and Paris in this group, closer to the middle of the list, on how often residents use smart solutions. Why, you may ask? Maybe because there are no maybe because people are more open, but one of the factors is age. This is what we know for sure, because there is a big correlation between age and the use of solutions. The difference of 1 year gives, the younger the person is, the wider they use the new technologies. But that's not the only factor, because Moscow is not very much different from European cities in this regard. Or, for instance, it's not clear, the difference between Melbourne and New York could not be explained by age alone, but it's also about culture, about being open to new solutions. If we would look at certain solutions, so maybe you don't see it quite well. So among the leaders among continents, so transport solutions, data in real time, okay, navigation apps, what every resident in the city needs all the time. Also, public services online, well, everyone needs them, and online services is a big convenience, a big bonus to the living standards. But have a look at how wide the spread between the solution is. In leaders, you have, well, 90%. It's not possible, yeah, because, well, you have really senior people who use technologies little, but there is a group of cities where more than 60% of population that use popular digital solutions. And now at the right, you see how different the list is. Seoul, Shanghai, Mexico, Moscow, Shanghai, Singapore. So you can look for exciting solutions on how to make our life easier in all countries of the world. And I'm pleased to say that Moscow is a leader in a number of solutions. So Moscow is a leader in terms of using public services through online applications. So, and we used the data of polls and transaction frequency, unique hits. Moscow is a leader among some transportation application and another area like digital appointment to doctors. Yeah, so here we are really ahead of other cities in the world, with Paris being the second city, and we just can wonder why other cities are not that active in introducing these solutions. Some word about less popular solutions. There is a group of solutions which at the moment there is no demand in every city. For instance, like bicycle sharing. And there is a group of Chinese cities among the leaders, Shanghai and some other cities. So they have the use rate above 80%. But in Europe, it's only 30% with the leading countries. So it's about the culture, it's of course about climate, but also searching for apartments online, which is in demand in certain cities and not that popular in others. And maybe it's a question to residents and administration of every city. What's in demand here and now? It's sometimes you need just to find this opportunity or anticipate it, or maybe you can look around in other cities, maybe in cities which you don't believe to be a smart city. And sometimes we can develop and introduce a solution together. The speed of how smart cities spread, so the smart solution spread rate is fantastic. 2 to 3 years from the launch to massive use by the residents. And we can cherish the hope that digital solutions will still be in demand, like Moscow solutions for communication with the residents. So this is, so the active citizen, our city, all solutions for feedback with the population. So to finish, I would like to wish the city to be in active search for new breakthrough areas, which would be in demand with the residents. We should look for a new model of life thanks to the digital solutions. Thank you. Elena, thank you so very much. So we spoke about Moscow. We heard about analytical data from all countries in the world. And now I would like to invite Francesca Bria from Barcelona, Spain, the director of Center for Innovations. Welcome, Francesco.
I don't speak Russian, so we switch to English. First of all, thanks so much for the invitation. It is a real pleasure to be here. And I'm going to present, if the thing is up, yes. I'm going to present a little bit of information and an overview about the Smart City program in Barcelona. And I'm the digital commissioner. I'm the mayor for digital and innovation in Barcelona. And this is a new role that was created on purpose to really speed up digitalization in our city. So it's a role that is reporting directly to the mayor's office, but also that really what it wants to do is to coordinate across all the different departments of the city. Because it is really hard to, in a moment where digitalization is changing everything, governments are very siloed, they're organized vertically in department, and one very important thing is to make this plan holistically. So to try to make it really for the entire organization and try to show that digital touches everything, from transport to healthcare to culture to the way we work and live and the economy. And so it cannot be a department. It should should affect the entire organization. So that's why we created the Barcelona Digital Plan, and the digital plan really touches on digital government transformation, but also on digital innovation, so how we transform the economy, and on digital empowerment, which is very at the core of what we do in Barcelona. So this is our mayor, Ada Colau. For who don't know her, she's been defined one of the most radical mayor in the world because she's very bottom-up. She's very focused on starting from citizens and their need and shifting the power to the people, to the citizens. And so my brief when I was called to lead this digital transformation of Barcelona was really how can we make sure that technology and data serve the people? How do we make sure that, it was also said in the presentation before, that we don't start only from the technology, but we start from the missions that we have in the city, from the real urban challenges and from citizen needs. So instead of first putting out connectivity, sensor network, big data, and only after asking, why do we need a smart city at all? What problems are we trying to solve? We're trying to start from the real issues and the real things that matter to people: affordable housing, healthcare, sustainable mobility, energy transition, creating more green spaces, and the fight against CO2 emission and climate change. And then only after, we ask, what kind of technology do we need to help us solve these kind of urban challenges, and how can we govern technology to really empower people? So this is, for instance, a project that we have done in Barcelona for the energy sovereignty and energy transition. Of course, a lot of cities, this is a big challenge, how we can make our cities green, how we can make our cities more sustainable in terms of energy, and how we can transition to a more renewable energy production. And so Barcelona has created its own energy supplier that will produce renewable energy for all the citizens and also cut the cost, so we can fight energy poverty. A lot of people cannot pay their energy bill until the end of the month. This is another very interesting project. It is Barcelona Superblocks. So this is a really innovative urban planning process where we are taking off some districts of the cities completely to traffic. Now there is 18 districts in Barcelona where cars cannot enter, and we are growing green spaces, and we are doing that co-planning together with citizens, urban planners, architects, urban designers, and neighbors themselves that can help us in a participatory way to create more public space, more green space, and make sure that we limit the traffic in cities, because we have to move to a sustainable mobility model. Another really important thing that is at the core of the digital Barcelona city is collective intelligence and participatory democracy online. So we think that if we aggregate collective intelligence of citizens in the decision-making process of governments, we take better decisions. So Barcelona has run the entire government agenda. 70% of the proposal in our action plan come directly from citizens. We are using a hybrid method of online participation and offline participation in all neighborhoods of the city. Over 40,000 people actively put up proposals that today are government action plans and really strongly engage in our participation process. So it is this kind of mix between direct democracy and deliberative democracy that makes really at the core of redefining the relationship between government and people, government and citizens. We are also trying to use digital technologies to transform government itself. So if the government can become more open, more transparent, more participatory using digital technologies, also to respond to what citizens really need. And so we have created an open and agile digital transformation strategy, and a lot of it is about creating more agile development of agile digital services. So government are used to be not very agile, very bureaucratic, so we're implementing new ways to make processes more iterative, integrating the feedback of citizens all the time when we develop the services. We are also trying to change procurement, so this word of procurement, government contracts, to make sure that we are bringing everything online. It's more transparent how we procure things, and we create a balance between big technology firms and small companies, SMEs that create a lot of the value, so that they can also access government services and we can create better services. We're also trying to shift to much as possible to open source software, interoperability, and open standards. And so we have a policy where we're investing 70% of our IT budget in open source software so that it can be reused and adapted to many other cities, so we can share the software that cities create. This is our Internet of Things platform. Everything is open source, is open standards. We are using it for many urban management processing, like noise monitoring, energy monitoring, water metering, garbage collection, parking slots. So we've been running all these test beds in the city of Barcelona, and now we managed to scale solutions using this Internet of Things open stack platform. Actually, it is used in many other cities across the world. Dubai is running it, Torino is running it, Amsterdam is running an instance. So the fact that it's open source can allow other cities to see how it works and use it. We also have an urban data analytics platform. It's called CityOS, which is our urban operating system. This is also absolutely open stack and open source, so we can collaborate with other cities. And this is basically a data analytic platform that will allow government to analyze all different sources of data, of course in a privacy-preserving manner, and start doing machine learning models, artificial intelligence, and AI for citizens to create better future services. We think that in the digital economy, the raw material is data. So we need a new deal on data that is about data sovereignty of citizens. So we are collecting, today's citizens collect 90% of the data they didn't collect 3 years ago. It's a big data revolution, and the data is the currency of the future. Somebody says the oil, but it's basically the raw material on top of which we're going to build the future services. So it is important to have an ethical data strategy where we put data security, privacy, and citizens' rights at the core. And that's why we are, in Europe we have a regulation. We hope it's going to become a global standard, which is the GDPR, which is a regulation that says, yes, we want to make the most out of data. So that's why we are gathering all the data, but we want people to be at the core of it, and people to have rights of the data they own and they produce. Also, with data, we can make important policies, like open data. Barcelona is opening up all the data sets, critical data sets as well, for developers that they can build application on top of that. We're also putting open source the budget, so you can check how much money we spend, what are our salaries, where we allocate the resources, and we are really creating transparency of how the government operates. We even have a whistleblower platform which is based on Tor, encrypted, for people that can denounce cases of corruption in government. We have created a Mayor's Office of Data Analytics, which is report directly to the mayor and the city manager, so that we can really move to the next generation of machine learning, AI, and use data and evidence-based policy making for the future of what we do. And then why don't we demand also data and algorithmic accountability? More and more decisions are automated in government, and we want to show that these are fair decisions that affect everybody. We have a pilot project which is a big flagship project in the European Union. We are collaborating with Amsterdam on this, and this is about creating blockchain or distributed ledger with cryptography on top for people to own the data. So we're saying, what about you owning your data, and you decide what data you want to keep private, what data you want to share, with whom and on what terms, so that we can create real data commons. We think that data is a new utility. It is a meta-utility on top of which every service will run: transportation, healthcare, education of the future. So we need proper data sovereignty. We need to get this data back. And this data should belong to the citizens and all of us in order to build a future smart society. So on top of this data, we can unleash all the talent and innovation that we have in the city. So how about increase more partnership between the city hall, the universities, research centers, but also all the talented startups, the SMEs, the developers, all the talented companies that make the next generation of IT solution exciting. So that's why we are creating an urban innovation lab. This urban innovation lab is in a tech city, is a space of Barcelona devoted to innovation, and we're using it focused on urban challenges. So now we focus on data and mobility, on the circular economy. We have done women in tech and many other challenges, and we are creating new solutions so that small companies can access our assets, our infrastructure, and our data, and we can co-develop the next generation solution with that. The vision is to create a marketplace where cities can also collaborate on creating innovative solutions globally. This is an interesting project. It's called Make in Barcelona. We know it's a big challenge with the new digital revolution to take production back, and this is something we are trying to do in Barcelona using digital fabrication technology and the fourth industrial revolution, which is about automation, but bringing production back to the city. This is a maker district. It's piloted in Poblenou, is the district of Barcelona, and it's about the circular economy, making cities more sustainable. Actually, we want to produce everything as much as possible locally and recycle material, recycle plastic, produce energy, food, and make sure that cities are more sustainable and show a greener and better world. We also have some pilots about 5G, of course, as we heard from other cities. Cities are very important in 5G because this is a technology that will change a lot of what we do, but cities are super important because we can identify what are the key elements, the use cases, what is good for the entire population, and make sure that the advantage of technology spread to the many, to all of us, and not to the few. We're also doing a very cool project. This is a cryptocurrency experiment. So I think the crypto economics will also change everything, and it's very important to pilot this technology. And in Barcelona, we have experiments giving basic income with cryptocurrency. And we're experimenting on kind of blockchain-based technology. Then, as also the city of Moscow said, we need education and skills because the future digital city cannot be built without the citizens. So how about investing in digital skills in a digital revolution that will automate a lot of jobs and also displace a lot of jobs? We have to create the jobs of the future. So we have public fab labs, which are next generation places where you can learn how to code, you can learn digital fabrication, you can learn a lot of the digital skills, and we're integrating this in the schools. So we are extending STEAM programs, science, technology, mathematics, and the arts, in all the schools of Barcelona. Finally, we really want to empower women in this technological revolution. We need more women to be involved because this will change the future, and women have to be at the very core of the digital revolution. So we're trying to give a platform and make visible all the women's talent that we have in the tech industry. And finally, we can only do this with a digital hub, a digital ecosystem. Barcelona is continuously working with our partners, companies, small and big, research centers, universities, and citizens to make this a reality. And of course, we are hosting some of the biggest digital technology events, like the Smart City Congress, actually in November. We welcome you in Barcelona, and the Mobile World Congress, of course. So this is our hub. And this is basically the end. To say it that a digital city can only be built from the ground up with citizens and creating a really vibrant digital hub and a digital ecosystem. Thank you.
Это было очень круто. Мне очень понравился сервис про открытый бюджет города. Евгений, у нас скоро такой появится?
Thank you very much. It's been so good. The digital platform I liked so much. Evgeny, will we have something like that here? And what I especially liked concerned open budget. Well, we already have the open budget, and on our website you can see it. And now I would like to invite to the floor Ashok Sitaramano, National University of Singapore. Ashok Sitamarano.
And privilege for me to be here, sharing some experiences of Singapore with you. So I head up a leadership center which focuses on public service, innovation, digital government transformation, and smart nation. I am a part of the National University of Singapore, which is consistently ranked as first in Asia for the last about 8 years, and we are 15th worldwide. And we have been very fortunate enough to contribute to Singapore's digital workforce. About 67% of the digital workforce in Singapore has gone through our university. So that's our contribution. Let me just spend a couple of minutes on just introducing Singapore to you. If you want to search for Singapore, you literally need to take a magnifying glass and look for Singapore. It's a small dot on your world map. And in fact, it is called a red dot. And that's how we refer to Singapore in the local context there. 1819, when it was discovered, it was a fishing village with about a population of about 1,000 people, 510 square kilometers. By 2030, we expect the population to be 6.5 million, and the area to grow to 760. And obviously, the blue part comes out of land reclamation. Singapore is a city, state, and a nation. So it's a small island. If you want to practice marathon, that is one more reason to come to Singapore. You start from the eastern end to western end, it's 42 kilometers, so you don't have to count. One end to the other end of Singapore, 42 kilometers. So today we are at 720 square kilometers, 5.6 million, a GDP of 350 billion US, per capita income, 58,000 US dollars. We started in 1965 with about 120 US dollars per capita. So in about 55 years, we've managed to grow. And all of this without any natural resources in Singapore. But of course, this is pale in comparison to the great job done by and the city of Moscow, which has got a huge space and relatively less dense population. Anyway, so that was a quick introduction about me, about Singapore. Before we talk about one-click city, I thought let's talk about one-click society. Of whoever is left in the room, I think most of us have learned our alphabets using this chart. Seems familiar? But in Russian, okay. But all of this has already changed. As you move forward, the kids learn alphabet differently, right? So that's the new vocabulary. Thank you. The other day, I was looking at a newspaper advertisement, and my kids grew up in Singapore. I always wanted them to learn a third language, but somehow it escaped them. So I said, very good. At kindergarten, they are teaching third language. So I was curious. I took a closer look. Turns out the third language is actually coding, programming. All right? So this is where we are headed in Singapore. Primary schools, kindergartens are talking about teaching kids programming. We are not the only ones. Other countries around the globe, Japan is talking about artificial intelligence, talking to kids about artificial intelligence, all right, and its usage in other places. So this is our digital disruptive economy that we have. For Singapore, it's a top priority to embrace this. And our solution or answer to embrace this is to aspire to be the first smart nation in the world. Of course, we have the advantage of a city-state nation, and that's our solution to embracing digital technology or digital economy. And we have done all of these things using lampposts to collect data, environmental, noise pollution, weather conditions, etc. Smart meters, autonomous vehicles. Pittsburgh, Uber wanted to be the first one to deploy autonomous taxis. We beat Uber by a week. 25th of August, 2016, we deployed our autonomous vehicles. So all of these things we are doing. Drones is just not the flying of the drones, but policies behind it, the security aspects and so on. So these are typical components of smart city anybody would talk about. But let me share with you 2 or 3 major lessons learned. The first one, we cannot have a smart city unless we have a people who are technology savvy. There's a mindset change that is required and a collaboration. Let me just quickly give you examples. For skills, we have a very comprehensive program starting from the kindergarten right up to working adult. The focus is really continuous learning. Learning never stops, and that's the kind of focus that we are inculcating, working through multiple agencies, stakeholders in Singapore. Mindset. At the government level, we are making sure that is one of the most important aspects. Smart Nation is not about just technology, it's about the mindset of people. Most important, changing the mindset to adopt, to increase the adoption. The third one, we deployed this 15 years ago. The focus on co-creation, working with the citizens, and our speakers prior to me have spoken about it. And the whole of government transformation. Barcelona spoke about working across government agencies, collaboration. So let me just give you 2 quick examples before I wrap up. The first one, everybody is familiar with this, right? Okay. Let me just take you for a second. Singapore is the second fastest aging society in Asia, Japan being the first. So we are trying to see how we can use smart technologies to help our senior citizens. So we came up with this solution called Green Man Plus. What does that do? You take your senior citizen card, and tap it on the lamppost, on the traffic light. It gives you additional time for the elderly to cross that road. All right? So we thought there's going to be a great solution to start taking care of our people. But what we found, usage was very, very low. And to understand, it took us some time to understand why the usage was low. Let me take you back. Our train systems have this tapping and getting into the train. And we said, we'll use it for the train, we use it for the buses. And we took a lot of pride in saying that, oh, we have integrated it, technology integration. You can use the same card as a senior citizen card and also in all modes of transport. But the problem was, tapping was equal to paying. So in the elderly citizens' minds, I don't want to tap it here because it might deduct some money from my card. All right? So that's a very important lesson learned, trying to design solutions for your citizens. And then, because of that, the usage was low. And that's about adoption. Very quick one, saving lives. Cardiac arrest is a very important thing. You have to get to the patient within the first few minutes. So we had a solution where when you report something, within 400 meters, the volunteers are notified, and they come and rescue the patient. So in order to talk about it, let me just play the video. Can we please have the video? Are they?
Включите нам, пожалуйста, видео.
We are getting there. No?
Hello, excuse me. Sir, are you okay? Not responding, call 995.
Good morning, this is 995. Okay, there is unconscious male, not breathing, okay? Okay, I will send an ambulance down right away.
Okay, now I will guide you with the CPR procedures. Alright, are you ready? Let's begin. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 10 and 1.
Can we go back to the presentation? Thank you. Okay. Back to presentation. Several clicks. Okay. There you go. Okay. So to date, we have about 8,000 such volunteers. In the last 3 years, there have been 1,800 such cases, and we have saved several lives. So there's a powerful method of co-creation with the people. So my proposal today is to move from one click to no click, meaning anticipating your citizens' requirement. All right, so we are experimenting with solutions which we can integrate called moments of life, which is to do with starting a family, childbirth, and then raising a child. So we are looking at anticipatory method of delivering services. So with that, thank you very much for your attention. I appreciate it.
К сожалению, у нас даже не осталось ни одной.
So, sadly, we are 5 minutes late and we have not a single second for questions and answers. Okay, so applause for Barcelona, applause for other guests. It was a fantastic stuff. Thank you.